as statement of fact. Independent fact-checking and corrections are encouraged.
Can we get a cup of coffee in here, please?
Damn good coffee and hot.
Wake up, America. You've got a dog that needs walking. That's right, sunshine. Just put on a big pot of strong coffee and get ready to type your little hate mail with your opinions about kumbaya and flat earth insanity. Stand-up comedy? You want stand-up comedy? Well, we've got sit-down comedy. It's time for Coffee with the Dog. You make me laugh.
Because I'm a social media sensation. Not really. Oh. I'm saying oh. Okay, Gavin. This is the O show. Oh. I guess Dan Rush and Tom Sawyer. Oh. He's saying oh. He's still saying oh. Good morning, folks. It is Thursday. No, it's not. It's Wednesday. Screwed that one up, didn't I? Wednesday, September 27th, 2023. We have a ray of sunshine here, but it's still cold. It's almost winter cold here. I don't get it. But a little frost on the pumpkin, and I'm not down with it. Anyway, I hope it's a beautiful day wherever you are. Let's just be happy to be alive and stop complaining all the time. Yeah, right. That might happen. I'm a natural born complainer. Anyway, starting to feel a little better. Thank you for all the feel better comments on social media. We have reached the point of no return. I don't want to mention the name of the comedy club, but a comedy club is advertising its headliner for this weekend as social media sensation, as seen on TikTok. Are you fucking kidding me? Here we go. I'm starting with the F-bombs early today. Are you fucking kidding me? Headlining at a comedy club and your claim to fame is as seen on TikTok. Now, I'm old enough to remember just last week when we lived in a world where, as seen on The Tonight Show, as seen on Conan O'Brien, as seen on, I don't know, The Late Show with Jimmy and Stevie and whatever, all those things now famous for being on TikTok. Yeah, we're going to go pay money with a two drink minimum and a heavy ticket price to go see somebody from TikTok who may or may not have ever performed in front of a live audience before. Are you kidding me? But there's no going back from this, folks. This is the world we've created. It's not, listen, in the big scheme of things, in the small scheme of things, this is not something people have to really be all that concerned with, unless you're a comedy fan or a comedian. But to me, it's just ridiculous. This is the world of instant fame, instant celebrity, and no dues paying whatsoever to get where you are. So it's anyway. It's disturbing to me to see, as seen on TikTok. As I should read you the email if I could find it, or did I just delete it? I just deleted it. Anyway, it says, this weekend, big show coming up, headliner, as seen on TikTok, and it's somebody you never heard of. And the other part of that is the feature is somebody I have heard of. Now, I don't want to see. I crossed the line of bad mouthing other people who are involved with this thing. So I'm not going to mention the feature, but I know who the feature. I know I would put the feature as the headliner, and this TikTok kid as the opener. Uh, oh, good morning, Call and Bean Flicker in the call says social media types have been headlining clubs for years now, possibly, but I have never seen. If Carl says it, I believe it's true, but I have never seen a club advertising in such a way as social media sensation, as seen on TikTok, as their headline in the promotional email that they're sending out. Kind of disturbing. Kind of disturbing to me. Again, in the big scheme of things, in the small scheme of things, it's not that important to anybody other than me. But to me, I feel like there's no turning back now. I mean, we're in a place where good people who have paid their dues, and not just in comedy, it's in music, it's in theater, it's even in authorship and filmmaking. People are getting credit for 30-second to 1 minute bits of content that hit the algorithm right. Not necessarily good stuff, not necessarily quality work, and definitely not putting in the work for the success. So, yeah, you know what is Carl saying here? And I kind of understand this. A lot of comedy clubs don't care about comedy. They're terrible restaurants that want to have an act on. Yes, same thing with music. Uh, it's not about, and who are purveyors of what is quality and what's not. But it's not about quality. It's about filling the seats and dollars. It's about money. It's a business. I get that. It always has been. Listen, coming up, I saw lots and lots of bands that could fill venues because they had friends. It was their first time out, and they would get booked. And uh, and I still see this. There's a band of watercolors who are some of the greatest musicians I've ever seen locally here. But they're not just local guys. I mean, Russ DeSalvo, who is one of my mentors in music, uh, has written and performed with some of the biggest stars in the world. He's written songs that were number one hits for some of the biggest stars in the world. And he's in this band, which is a jazz band, but it is incredibly um, packed with talent little combo. And they're losing gigs to kids who, because kids have friends that they can bring, 21-year-olds who are going to pack the club. And that's the way it's always been. I get that. But generally, what I'm really astonished by is that the advertising of it is such. Gen- Generally, you wouldn't be advertising. Yeah, come see this person who has not paid their dues. They're just going to bring in money to us, which is what social media sensation says to me, as seen on TikTok. That is the fucking headline, as seen on TikTok. Again, this is not serious shit. Nobody's going to die. I might die. I'll die eventually. Maybe today. Anyway, Carl, who is in the chat room, is going to be hosting tomorrow. I will be doing my very first, and I'm a little nervous. If I have to be honest, and I probably do have to be honest, they're going to hold my feet to the fire here or whatever that dopey phrases. I'm nervous about my first media interview for my run for Congress. That's right, I am running for Congress. In case I forget to tell people enough, I'm running for Congress in the New York 3rd Congressional District in 2024, which we haven't even had the 2023 elections yet. But there you go, man, Apple for Congress 2024, New York 3. And the plan is to really not behave myself all that well. Of course, I don't. Even if my plan was to behave myself, I don't think I could do it. But if they ask me what my campaign is about, I'm going to say basically this district, New York 3, should be ashamed of itself. It has a lot to be ashamed of, and it has a lot to make up for because they sent a man to Congress who is he makes John Lovitz, the liar from Saturday Night Live, look like pure as the driven snow. I mean, George Santos is the worst possible choice for congressman ever, and they voted him in. So my campaign slogan is "You voted for worse," but I'm, as you know, if you listen to this program, I'm a one issue candidate. I'm just looking to go in like Jesus and overturn the tables of the money changers. My whole campaign is based on exposing who the people in Congress are really working for. They're not working for the people who vote for them, although that's who they're supposed to be working for. A representative is not a representative of you, it's a representative of the money behind their seat. And often that money is special interest, almost all exclusively special interest. Hello, goodbye. Um, Anyway, so basically, trying to get people, and they don't have to do this. This is part of the system we've created. Is they're allowed to keep a lot of this dark money secret. These donors, expose who your donors are. Now, I have a letter here. I have not opened from the House of Representatives. Maybe it's a good time to open it. U.S. House of Representatives, Washington, D.C. has sent me a letter. Maybe they're going to tell me we've rejected your run. No, they can't do that. That's the Elections Commission to see what they're sending me. Yeah, I'm opening it up here on the air because I forgot about it last night. And this has been sitting on my desk probably 3 months now. I don't pay attention to mail. Uh-oh. Oh, financial disclosure electronic filing system. Uh, yeah, it's got my work address and all this stuff. Candidate must continue to file annual financial disclosure statement. Uh, yeah, I did all that already. See, this is an old letter. Anyway, they didn't like that I filed with a bunch of zeros on there. I took no money in. I spent no money. No money came in. No money came out. So I am happy to disclose my donors. There are none. I'm completely self-funded. And my message will be, everybody knows how I feel about Donald Trump. I'm a never Trumper. And that will turn off a big part of this district because the district voted for George Santos because he is a Trumper. They want to rubber stamp everything Donald Trump does. They're in the cult deep. But I think what they respond to in Donald Trump was this anti-establishment, self-funded bullshit that he put out there, and he claimed to be self-funded. Meanwhile, he had a CPAC already set up. Uh, if you don't know what a CPAC is, it's a operation to get you dirty money. It's getting donors. He was never self-funded, even though he claimed to be self-funded and not beholding to any special interests, and he was. I'm truly self-funded because I'm only operating with the nickels and dimes that are in my pocket at the moment. Do I have a chance at winning? Probably not. Probably no chance at all. And this is from the guy who is the foremost football prognosticator in America right now. I have the best record of anybody picking teams, and we'll go over that. I sent Willie this week's picks. I know how to pick a winner. Hey! I'm a son of a bookie. What do you expect? I know how to pick a winner. So odds are highly against me winning. But if I can make a difference in the dialogue about what we're doing there in the politics, eh, we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, I'm going to be going for my interview tomorrow. So Carl will be here filling in. We don't have a guest scheduled, but I thought maybe I'll get Jordan Peterson to come. Maybe maybe I could get one. Willie's supposed to be here. Robert Taylor does his normal Thursday thing. Thank you for your service. But Willie's supposed to be here now, and he's not. He texted me last night. I got my Wi-Fi all figured out. Everything's going to be cool. I'll be there in the morning, and he's not here. But he's giving it the old college try, and that's all we ask. Anyway, I did crush him in last week's football picks. Um, I don't know the actual because I don't write down what his picks are, but I missed one game, and it was my lock, the Jets, and I'm sticking with the Jets as my lock for this week. And I made my picks for this week, even though the line will probably change between tonight and tomorrow. But I sent them to Willie for this week, and he'll be uh, describing the football picks for this week. Again, just bet the house on everything I say. If you did that last week, if you bet on everything that I told you to bet on, um, you're a rich person today. You've made a lot of money in the last week, so you're welcome. Katie Dudley, who is a comedian from Los Angeles, California, is due here 1 minute ago. She's not here, but time zone. She's in Los Angeles, California. It's 6:15 in the morning. I'm wondering if she did not understand the time zone difference and thinks she might be coming on at 9:15. Happens. People in 2023 don't realize that this sphere of a planet we live on has multiple time zones. It's insane. It's insane that people can't grasp. And I'm not certain that that's the issue. Maybe her alarm didn't go off. It's 6:15 in the morning. But I'll tell you this about Katie Dudley: pretty good, pretty good. I've only seen 2 clips, uh, but she's way beyond uh, beginning level open mic stuff that we get a lot on this program. When I get because requests come in through all the groups that Willie shared, looking for comedians, get a lot of those, and quite often they turn out to be open mic level or just past open mic level people. Katie is polished. She's doing some really good stuff. So it would be good to have her here and talk to her about that, but she's not here. It would be good to have Willie here and talk to him about the news and football picks and how he can't spell football, and I'm Vince Lombardi. But we don't have Willie here either, so I'm here alone. In the next hour, I'm expecting a fantasy author, Danielle Orsino. I'm sorry, Orsina, Orsini. I don't know, Orsino. At 10:15. I'm fucked up. What am I gonna do? Anyway, so that's the status of the show this morning. I am still recovering from probably COVID cancer. I got cancer of the COVID. Uh, I complain just as badly as if it were stage 4 cancer, just a mild cold, but man flu, down for the count, and neglecting a lot of work. The beauty of this stage of life is the ability to say, fuck it. When I was young, and there was a time when I was young, I know people find that hard to believe, but not even 10 years ago, I would force myself to go to work when I wasn't feeling well, tough it out. And I didn't tough it out this time. I said, fuck it. And I laid down in bed, laid down to die. Looks like Robert Taylor's popping in, but I see a black screen, which means his camera's not on. He's hiding. You know what? Either that or he's getting his last few strokes in while he masturbates before coming on the air, which is possible. Yeah, there he is. He's done masturbating. We got the napkin out. You know what? Early, had my Robert Taylor comedy T-shirt on today, but I said, you know what? It's cold. I should put a regular shirt on so I could put a jacket on over it and look halfway presentable. Good morning. How are you?
Hey, what's going on?
What happened in Vegas? That's what's going on. What happened in Vegas?
Oh, it was fun, man. I made a lot of connections out there, a lot of bookers, and
Did Ben Frank win the whole thing?
no, he made it to the semifinals.
Wow.
Yeah, semifinals.
Semi? Did you say semi?
Seminan finals.
Semi. No, we say semi here up in the North America, up in North America where I am. I don't know what planet, what continent you're on, but semi we say, not semi.
What kind of what do you call an 18-wheeler?
Yeah.
A
So
semi truck?
you're at are you at Good Nights this weekend in
No,
Durham? No.
no, I'm in Durham like 2 or 3 times next month. I
Oh.
think. No, not this weekend.
Because I don't know if you caught my beginning little rant there. There is a I might as well say it now. It's Good Nights who was advertising that the headliner this weekend is social media sensation so and so that I've never heard of,
Right. Yeah,
as seen on TikTok, by the way.
that's pretty common now.
To advertise it that way, I know it's common for people to get bookings that way, but to advertise it as seen on TikTok, social media
Yeah,
sensation.
I saw at the Comedy Zone in Charlotte. I was looking at their calendar and I saw 1 or 2 advertisements for. Yeah, they give them one shot. You know, if they bring a crowd in, but they eat shit, then they don't come back.
Yeah, that's the way it's worked in music forever, but nobody has ever advertised it in that way. Like it's basically the club saying, "Oh, we don't really care about quality. We care." What Carl was saying, but they admitting to it now. It was never that way because
Well, they kind of have to, because if you're a comedy fan, you don't know who the hell they are, but they can lure the podcast fans in, because that's how they know them. You know, the podcast.
yeah.
They sure don't know them from comedy because they don't do comedy.
You know what? I should probably send Katie a reminder in case she's there, because people are now sharing it, and I'm just getting all these messages that people are waiting for Katie Dudley. I guess she's got a following, but
It's
she,
time zone, man. It's the freaking time zone phenomena.
well, it's interesting. Last year, exactly a year ago today, Zach Wiseman was subbing for me, and debating with the flat Earth people, and that's one question I've never asked the flat Earth people. The time zones. Do
Time
they?
zone. We're all in the same time zone, I guess.
If the Earth is flat, why do we need time zones? It should be the same time everywhere. The sun should be the same everywhere,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't make any. Well, I never asked that, but that's just interesting. I think
Oh yeah. I haven't talked to you in a week or so, but I've seen like 2 good shows, man. Since last time I talked to you, I saw Tosh a week and a half ago.
yeah.
That was a great show. And last week I saw Carrot Top.
Carrot Top.
I'll tell you what, my son went with me too, and he was skeptical, but he came out. He loved it. He only about 30, I'd say 30 to 40% of the show was props, man. He was doing comedy. It was good too. He was killing.
That's strange. So it comes out. It still comes out with the toy box full of stuff and just grabs
Well,
something.
he's got like 6 of them, 6 big trunks on the stage, and he's got a big video screen back behind him. And but he didn't. I mean, it's not what I was thinking. It was just gonna be props the whole time. He did props early on. He started out. He was prop heavy for maybe the first 15 minutes or so, and then he gradually worked his way into just more bits.
Wow.
But he was funny.
That's just so strange. I mean, and he can do 90 minutes talking about toys and stuff. Like that's basically what it is. Toys or
No, it's not, man. I'm telling
no?
you. No, shit, no. He does topical stuff. He was doing stuff that happened that week. Like, I mean, it's not, that's what I was thinking too, just based on the old videos of it. Well, that's what he does when he goes on a late night, or Regis and Kathy Lee or whatever it was, when he's only doing like 10 minutes or 15 minutes, but not in that hour show. He's doing edgy stuff, man.
Man, did you just date yourself or what? Regis has
Regis
been
and
dead.
Kathy Lee.
Regis has been dead for like 5 years. Kathy Lee left that show, I want to say 25 years ago.
Yeah. That's sad.
I remember when she
At
was
least I
leaving.
didn't say Mike Douglas.
Yeah. when she was leaving, Kathy Lee was leaving that show. There was a contest, or supposed contest that to replace her. Now it wasn't a real, but they were asking for people to do videos, and every woman I knew at the time wanted that spot, and they were asking me to help them do their demo tape. They wanted to send in. I was like, they're gonna pick a celebrity. They're not. This is just to get ratings up. This is to get more
Yeah.
people tuning in and all this stuff. And oh, but so everybody was putting together these videotapes, and I was like, and then they ended up picking Kelly Ripa. So I was right. I'm always right. I'm right about everything. Are you a football guy, or do you bet on football? Do you care about football? Are you a
I
football
was in
fan?
Vegas, man. I was going to bet, and I was in a hurry, and I left. Thank God I didn't bet what I was going to bet. I was going to bet a parlay, a three-way parlay on college football. And two of the teams won, and I was going to take Colorado and 28 points, and they got beat by like 34 or some shit like that. I'm glad I didn't bet on it, but I keep up with it. I don't bet on it, but I watch it.
All right, Carl's in the background. Let's bring Carl in. Have you met Carl, Robert?
I don't think so.
Well, now meet Carl. Say hello to Carl.
Hey,
Carl.
Robert, nice to meet you, man. How you doing?
Actually, I commented one day when Carl was on there about running shoes. Did you check out those shoes, man?
That's right. Well, I've got some coming today, actually.
You'll like them, man. They'll work for you.
Yeah.
Carl's a very big star now. He's too big for this show. He's moved up to the stratosphere.
I'm a celebrity now, guys.
Yeah, he's not quite an A-list. He's B, somewhere between B-lister and A-lister. But of course, this show is for all D-listers and below. So, like you and me.
It's beneath me now.
Yeah,
I'm doing you a favor.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Throw us a bone. Sunset Boulevard. Did you just buy that when you were out in L.A.?
No, this is. I brought this in the UK. Weirdly enough, I like it because I got too fat for it last year. Now I can fit in it again. So I didn't go to Sunset when I was in LA. I didn't leave Venice. Well, I walked to Santa Monica, but
and you went twice, right? You went to LA, then you went to Tucson, then back to LA.
Just because the connection, it's easier and cheaper to go to LA than fly to Tucson than it is to go any other way. So I just spent one night either side.
That's bizarre that it's easier to fly to LA than to
it's a big connection, isn't it? Everyone's doing it. So New York or LA always pretty cheap to get to. And then,
a lot, not to make this about the airline industry, but the airline industry is changing. A lot of these smaller Tucsons and the Islip MacArthur's here, they're just not, doing the kind of business they were. So they limiting the number of flights in and out and destinations in and out. It used to be so easy. I could fly from Islip to Tucson directly. Now I have to go to
Stephen Catt went into Phoenix and flew out from Tucson, so I think it was cheaper to do it for that. I assume they probably went from JFK or something though.
Yeah. Coming back to my subject of the day here, the social media stuff. I know it's all about money, but the advertising part of it is really strange. Social media sensation to me. It's as if the clubs are admitting.
Well, they've got nothing else to say, right? They've got nothing else to say about that person, probably.
Well, Govs. I'm not bashing Govs. I just want to make. I love Governor's Comedy Club, but
Tim Dillon bashes Govs. It's quite funny.
When I get emails from governors, though, there are people on there who I've never heard of, but they don't know feel like they have to, apologize for. It's
probably just to their fans, isn't it? It's probably just as seen on TikTok. So they're hoping the younger generation go TikTok.
Yeah,
I watch Chinese men fighting with Down syndrome on TikTok. That would be a good show to go to.
Want to meet a comedian that most of us probably are not familiar with, but I have followed because she's been planned to come on the program, and I think she's very good and very polished. I don't think she's going to be billed as social media sensation as seen on TikTok, but welcome Katie Dudley to Coffee with the Dog. Katie, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hello.
Well, thanks for getting up at the crack of dawn.
Well,
You
this
booked
was
this time, and I was surprised when you said 9:15. I was like, she probably doesn't realize that that's a 6:15 for her.
the thought never crossed my mind.
You should have bailed. You should have bailed.
Well, I just walked into my office at work and I saw the email and I was like, shit. So
Wow.
jumped on.
So wait a minute. You go to work at 6:15 in the morning?
Yeah, I teach. And so my first class is at 8 a.m. So I get here a little bit early to
Oh my
prep.
God. The West Coast is full of early risers. I don't get it. Here in New York, this is early for me, and it's 9:30 in the morning, and it's really early.
But you don't want to. You don't want to get out of. If you're in Long Island, you don't want to get out of bed. Though you're in LA, the sunshine.
Right.
Mexican
Exactly. Got to get up as soon as the sun does.
So where you are in the world of comedy, and I've seen you on video now, and I think you're very good and very polished. Because a lot of people we get on this program are often are starting out, and when I get requests, the way Will, who was not here, reached out to people and put out a thing on social media about coming on the program. A lot of those people are beginners. You are very polished and beyond the beginner stage, and I was really impressed with your work. But it's so competitive in LA. It's got to be really tough, right? Just trying to get stage time, trying to get bookings and all that stuff when there are 3 billion comedians in Los Angeles.
Yeah, 3 billion comedians for sure. And then 3 billion actors who say they're comedians.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it is rough. For me, I guess the thing that's good is because I started here, it's the only scene I know. So I don't really know how to yearn for a different one. But it's just death by 5-minute sets and bringer shows and getting in with the right clicks and just sharing spots. And it's a slog.
Right. Now you're a teacher. Do your students know you're a comedian?
They do not. No. I mean, I say that to people when they ask, but I'm like, they're also 20-year-old kids. They've had to have Googled me. So I guess either I don't show up on Google yet, which that speaks to something, or
you do. You can't. For me, you come up first.
Oh, nice. Well, that's good.
Yeah, they've already found your OnlyFans and your comedy.
Exactly. So yeah, maybe they're just nice enough to not bring it up.
Yeah, I've said this so many times that I'm sick of hearing myself saying it, but LA seems to be people who really aren't really dedicated to the craft of comedy. They're there to be on television show or look to get on television shows or in movies, or they're seeking fame and celebrity rather than being really true dedicated to the art form of comedy. Do you see a lot of that?
Yeah, and it's kind of hard for me to say because I feel like just the nature of comedy, you're gonna start with a wide pool and then weed out as people go up and people get better. And I'm at the part of the pool where those people that you're talking about, yeah, there's a ton of them, and it's infuriating because they all have, I heard the social media of like, they all have the social media followers, they have the credits and things like that. It's just the credit may be that they were in a commercial and not on late night, but they still use those credits. But yeah, so I'm at that, and I feel like as you move up, my hope is, I guess the thing that keeps the hope is that as you move up a lot more of those fade away, and then you do get the people that are there truly for comedy. But yeah, my day-to-day is full of that.
It's still a comedy town though, isn't it? I mean, you still got obviously the store and Ice House and Classic Club, so you still got a lot of real comics there. But yeah, there's definitely a vibe of I want to be famous.
Yeah, that's definitely underlying a lot of it. Yeah.
I'm sure in New York we have most of the people want fame, but they are more committed to maybe this is my projecting, but I think they're more committed to the craft because they work hard at it. They're not content with doing one set, 1 5 minute set in one club. They'll go to many clubs in a single night to put in the work. And I think if you're doing that, that is definitely indicative of really caring about getting better rather than getting noticed.
I don't know. I'm sure Katie can speak to that more. From what I hear, though, you can do that in LA. It's just more difficult because it's not as condensed. It's more
Yeah.
spread out. So
You need a
there's comedy
helicopter.
shows at R.I.P. Kobe. There's comedy shows in laundrettes and pizza places and people's apartments in LA, I think, as well. From what I hear, so you can go to, I don't know, Flappers, which is in the Valley, and then you can bounce around a little bit. It's not as easy as somewhere like New York. But there are also psychos in New York. When I was there in February, there are psychopaths who want to be famous, and their entire set is, "I'm dating a billionaire. Look at my tits."
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I talk about this all the time, genres and putting yourself in a box. Now, there are different, I think comedy probably would benefit from understanding at least what kind of comic you're going to see, especially when they're names that people might not know on the marquee, and they're going to go, how would you how would you define your comedic style? Storytelling, personal anecdotes. What what is your
Yeah, that's
style?
primarily is the storytelling and personal anecdotes. And for the most part, I mean, I wouldn't say that if it needed to be like crisp clean, I'm not, but I lean cleaner. I don't do a lot of like sex stuff and things like that.
Right. Now coming from did you go from the Midwest to LA to pursue comedy, or you went to LA first and were settled in as a teacher and then decided you wanted to be in comedy?
Yeah, so yeah, I've moved around a lot from Illinois, LA. California is the 13th state that I've lived in, and so yeah. But I came out here. I got a job, yeah, at a university out here, and then it was one of those like over the pandemic where
Okay.
you get a break from things, and it's like it's one of those where you thought about it forever, and
Wait a minute, because now I'm confused because over the pandemic, a lot of people were doing social media as comedy because there were no clubs open. So you're saying during the pandemic is when you've got your first experience doing live comedy?
no, no, no. That was whenever it was where I kind of sat down and actually in my mind was like, when this opens back up, I'm
Ah,
going to go out and I'm going to try comedy. Yeah.
very cool.
Nice.
Now that's surprising to me because you do come off as very polished and not somebody who's just been in it for 2 years or so. So congratulations on advance. I'm supposed being a teacher and having the experience of standing in front of a room full of first time, especially first day of school or something,
Yeah.
that experience probably helps a lot. But you come across as very polished and very comfortable in your own skin, because generally I can spot somebody who's been in it only for a couple of years.
Oh,
Congratulations, you're on a very good path now. Tell me about your very first experience, first time in a club.
oh, good God. Well, the first time I did it, it was like, I don't know. It's like I can't even describe like the deafening silence of it. So, and that's what I hear a lot of you hear people talk about like, oh, and especially like they come on podcasts and they're like, oh, the first time I was on stage, I killed.
Yeah, I
And
hear that
that's
all
when
the
I
time.
knew. And I was like, and it was like the feeling I felt. And I was like, I haven't ever fucking felt that feeling that you're describing yet. So I don't know who you performed for, but in LA, again, I'm coming out of the gate, I'm a Parks and Rec professor. I'm talking about Parks and Rec stuff. I'm talking about Midwest stuff. And it was my first time. I was trying to tell a story and I was telling it horribly. And yeah, and it was just like, they felt through my soul. And
I'm wondering if that I killed is all in their mind because you know,
Yeah, if you're somebody that says that, it's all in your mind.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with you.
That's what I think.
I could never ever, even to my closest friends, I could never say, smashed it, I killed it, I was great. I couldn't even say that. That's insane to me.
Yeah.
Normally I come off stage and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
was it okay? And then someone says it's okay, and you kind of believe them, and then I drink more. So.
I'm trying to think if I've ever said that. I don't think I've ever said that I killed. Said that was a great gig. The audience was great. The crowd was great. But I've
That's
never.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your good audience is as much as I'll give myself. It's
Yeah.
good.
The audience was great, but I would never say that I killed because I'm always hyper aware of everything that I did that was wrong, more so than just.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, getting work, getting stage time. What do you do for that? I mean, do you just go to open mics, or are you networking? I mean, what's your plan for advancing this? Or
yeah, so so that has been hard. You know, you guys see me. I'm not a 20-year-old. And so yeah, and I don't drink anymore. So it's like I've lost that way that I used to know how to meet strangers. And so yeah, so getting into kind of the social stuff is a little bit hard to do it. So yeah, I just hit up mics as much as possible, and try and get in there and network. And the women's mics, I have feelings about women's mics, but it's like that's the nature of it, and that's how I can try and get in with some of the women groups and things, and they kind of help each other get on shows. But really, you mentioned Flappers. Flappers has been really good to me, and I think probably a lot of anything that I've gotten so far, I could probably give to Flappers, because I got a weekly hosting gig there. So every Tuesday night I host there.
wow, good.
Yeah, they were some of the ones. So
Nice.
like they host the Burbank Comedy Festival. So like they let me host 7 shows that week, and like and some of the Best of the Fest shows. So it's just some experiences getting in front of actual crowds, where I mean, you know, like you say, there's all of those shows in LA, and yeah, in people's basements, in people's garages and everything else. But that means you're always performing for about 4 of other people's friends.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, so Flappers has really helped me get in front of people who just want to go see comedy.
Yeah.
That's the problem with people's friends. They don't want to see comedy, and they're mad that they're there, and it sucks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never been, but I've heard good stuff about Flappers. I was in LA last week, but I didn't have any time. I was there for one day, either side to go in Arizona, so I wanted to find somewhere, but I couldn't be bothered to leave Venice. Basically, I was just tired. But next time I'm going to come out for longer, so I'll probably hit Flappers up.
Wow.
Nice.
Believe it or not, the guy up in my right-hand corner, that guy right there, Robert Taylor, he's quiet here, but he's very good at networking and socializing and taking advantage of the opportunities of people leading to people in comedy. He's not saying a word here, but he obviously has a gift for making connections and stuff like that. And the festival, you know, festival and competitions and stuff like that. He uses those to his advantage.
I was going to ask Katie if she ever does comedy down in San Diego.
Yeah, I'm hosting a show tomorrow at Mic Drop, San Diego.
That's a good club. I lived there for about 15 years. I got a lot of connections down there. I usually go out about twice a year to San Diego and LA. And do it for 10 days. I've hit some of those dive spots in LA, like the Universal Bar and Grill.
Yep.
Crispy Show. You know.
Yeah, when I was there, I almost watched a fight break out. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. There's some, I would say, because you're relatively close to San Diego, there's a lot more opportunity there. Because there's fewer comics.
Oh,
and there's just as many decent clubs with Madhouse, Mic Drop, ACC. There's other like Good Bar Comedy in Point Loma.
Yeah.
I'll message you afterwards and
Yeah, that'd be great.
give you a couple of names of where
See?
might help you out.
He's making connections already. He's networking with you.
Networking,
I'm
getting it
I'm
done.
6,000 miles away, Robert. But let me know as well because
We're
I'll
going
flight going on.
in England, man.
Yeah, you're way too big, Carl. You're too big for this
It's on my
circuit.
pay grade, man.
I know. I still need.
Carl
spots.
will be opening at Madison Square Garden, doing a 6-week stint
I
there.
will be back on some very interesting shows next year, but I can't say anything until it's confirmed. I can't.
I hate that you don't say anything, and especially don't say it in advance to me, because then I will spill your secrets. When you when you told me about Arizona, every day I was on here kind of stopping myself from saying it.
I just didn't want to be a dick and go on and start tweeting and tagging everyone, and then it doesn't happen for some reason.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
There were a lot of ifs and buts for me to get to the US, LA, Tucson.
Listen,
Bisbee.
I'm the son of a bookie. I understand jinxes, and you can jinx yourself out of good opportunities by talking about it too much. I get it, but I'm the worst person to confide your secrets of good stuff to it, because I want to spill the beans.
But it was fun. Kat sent me the video from Bisbee yesterday, but they cut off the beginning and the end. They were the best parts. I've got that on audio, but not on video.
Very cool. Now, do you think we're at a point? Maybe we've passed that point, but oversaturation, the amount of audience for the amount of clubs and comedians and places that are. I think, Carl, you said like last week or so that you expected places to be closing down. Now here we've had one open up. It just seems to me the comedy is still healthy, but I do think we're reaching a saturation point where there's just not enough audience for comedy, for the amount of comedy that's out there.
I'm sure Katie will know better from that side of the world, but for me, it's definitely a bubble, right? And bubbles do burst, and things do go in cycles, so it does feel like there's a lot of comedy everywhere.
Yeah,
and at some point that might go away.
Katie, do you see places opening up, closing down, or like what we have here? We just one club just recently opened up, but like pizza places are doing comedy, laundromats have comedy shows, cigar bars have comedy shows. I mean, they're coming up everywhere. What is the atmosphere like in LA right now?
Yeah, that's kind of how it is, and there's a lot of when you think of like the tiered clubs, so of course you've got the bar shows, and then you've got the places that primarily, it's even like the small little black boxes that will do the slotted open mics and stuff. They have their shows then that they do, and then and then you've got kind of those mid-level smaller clubs that are actually opening up clubs, and then of course we've got the big ones of the Improv and all of that. And so with all of that, and then not to mention everybody's little show, what's happening here, and I don't know, maybe this is showing a lack of knowledge about it, but it seems like what's happening here is it's getting so segmented. And so kind of the bigger clubs that, like historically would just have, anybody could just show up and say like, I'm going to be entertained. There'll be a variety of comics on here, like maybe I won't like one, but the other, but now like each show is like themed. And so then people start drawing lines as to, I won't go to that club because they don't have this style of comedian at that club. And when you start doing that, it starts getting, for one, it's less fun to go to. I think
in music we've had that forever. I mean, there are clubs that are just grunge clubs. There are clubs that are jazz clubs, whatever. Yeah. So I'm not sure that's. I think for some, in some ways, that could be a positive. I'm not sure it's a negative. I'm not sure, but it helps the audience figure out that they can go someplace and always see what they want to, what they're looking for, what appeals to them. So
yeah.
You mentioned before, and I know you have classes to get ready for, but women's the segmentation and the labeling of female comics, women comics. In 2023, I think it's crazy that because Emma Kay, who was on this program, was in a competition, New Jersey's funniest female comedians, and she placed second in that. And it's just weird that we need that kind of, you know, segmenting and putting women in a different box than men comedians. Talk about those issues a little bit, if you would, and how they affect you.
Yeah, so there's a few things that I think of with that, and that's where I think with the segmenting part, whether it's different clubs and different things, I think the possible negative that could come from that is that's where you start to see a lot more pandering. And so it's just, and the material to me gets a little bit lazy because it's, if you put me at a women's mic in a group of women, all I've got to do is say Donald Trump's name and that room's going to explode. And so it's like, I'm not even going to put a joke in front of it, and so then it just starts to get infuriating sitting in those rooms. And then what happens is then you get out of that room and you can't understand why the audience didn't laugh at your stuff. And it's like, well, because you've only been going to women's mics. Right. And so that's where I think it's right now. I mean, of course, there's still not like I'm saying a divide, but of course it's still, the woman comic versus just the comic, but nothing from what I can tell, like it used to be. But really what it is it's the women creating the women's mics because they don't feel safe in a mixed mic. And so It's creating a place to where they feel like they can express themselves any way they want without having to sit through a bunch of 20-year-olds saying, essentially rape jokes and things like that. But that's where I say I sometimes, I mean, it's good for the networking, but sometimes I don't like to go to a lot of those for everything that I just kind of said. Is I feel like you just get very kind of like I'm talking to my girlfriends, and so I'm just going to say things that I know make them laugh.
Interesting,
and it gets difficult.
Yeah, my experience lately, and I've had listen, I wouldn't say in my top 10 right now. I'd probably say it's equal, men and women, of my favorite comedians right now, and that wasn't the case as recently as like a year and a half, 2 years ago. But what I'm seeing from my perspective that I've noticed is women feeling compelled to do what they used to call edgy. Now it's adopted the label dark humor. They're compelled to do almost compete with the men on the idea of I'm bad. I'm a bad I'm dangerous, that kind of like, and instead of embracing who they naturally are and going with the comedy that fits your personality, this need to be dark or dangerous or edgy or whatever you want to put on it, but it feels like they're doing that on purpose. It's like a conscious effort to be bad. Do you agree with any of that?
I think I could see it, but again, from my view looking up, I kind of put it in the same thing when I talk about those 20-year-old guys. It doesn't bother me that much to watch them kind of stumble through and push the line and stuff, because at the end of the day, they're young guys and they don't know, they're working through it, right? What is acceptable, what's not, what's this. And it's the same type of thing, I think, for women. I think where they come out, some of them will come out of the gate and try that and try on that persona. And I'm hoping that kind of the ones that come out still in that truly is their personality.
Yeah, if you're a bad girl, be a bad girl. But if you're a good girl, don't try to act like a bad girl.
Yeah, and it's painful. It is kind of painful to watch that sometimes.
Yeah.
For
But
sure.
why isn't it a conscious choice that men that are dark?
Because I think men are basically pigs to begin with, and
women are pigs too. The real pigs will stay dark and funny.
Yeah, exactly.
Whether they're men or women.
Yeah. And that's right. Yeah, even those young guys, it's like eventually, and that's it, is you can see through it whenever they're trying to be assholes, and it's like at your core, you're not. And then hopefully you grow out of that. Hopefully.
But that's true anyway. I think the funniest people are the ones that find a place that fits them, whether it is really dark or clean or.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because I look at like Jeselnik. Is that how you say his last name, Jeselnik?
Jeselnik.
Yeah, he seems to have created this intentionally, in my view, this dark comedy thing in a guy who you wouldn't expect it from. Like if you just looked at him, you wouldn't expect him to be like
my favorite years ago. Before I even started stand up, I was in the main room of the Comedy Store. And Jeselnik came out, and it was fantastic. I love people watching at comedy shows. There was a table next to me of couples, and he came out, and all the women at this table were basically getting wet. They're like, "Oh my god, who's this hot guy?" And then he just did dead baby jokes, and they're like, ah. 3 of them left. They're like, "We're not watching this." They left the boyfriends there. I love that. But yeah.
Yeah. But so he, to your point, he definitely intentionally done it. Is a conscious
And he's
choice.
good. He's good at it as well. His jokes are very good.
Amazing at it. He's amazing at it. My wife doesn't appreciate his joke. Maybe she just doesn't appreciate because she doesn't watch him. She gets his content through me, and I'm delivering it. Maybe that's the problem. But she's like, I don't see that. That's not funny at all. There's nothing funny about that. Before I let you go, in the chat room, Ian is saying, ask her about alternative comedy. I've never heard that. Carl, you familiar? And Robert, you familiar with that term at all? Alternative comedy?
Yeah.
What does it even mean?
Oh,
Have you heard of Katie?
Well, it's like, it sprung up like in the late 80s, early 90s. Janine Garofalo, Patton Oswalt.
What's alternative about it?
Back then, it was they would talk about stuff that wasn't mainstream, the mainstream generic comedic topics or whatever. Now I don't know. I don't even know if it's different from regular comedy anymore.
Yeah, it seemed
Wasn't
like
it,
what they did
yeah,
music.
I mean, old comedy was just
yeah,
old comedy was just wacky stuff, right? It wasn't like UCB alt in its origins, right? But it all becomes, when you get so much alt, it all just becomes mainstream anyway.
Mainstream, yeah.
And then a new alternative will branch off it.
Everything eventually becomes mainstream. That's absolutely true.
Well, you only hear about it when it's mainstream as well. If it was really alternative, you wouldn't really know about it.
Yeah.
What do you teach?
What do I teach?
Yeah.
I'm in the Department of Recreation and Leisure Studies. So I teach outdoor recreation and tourism.
Like disc golf?
I'm sure a lot of my students do it. Yeah.
What about pickleball? Are you into pickleball? Because pickleball is a new thing with geezers my age.
And sport in America.
Yeah, no, I don't do pickleball, but yes, I have a person right across the hall from me, and a lot of his research is on pickleball because he's recreation therapy.
Yeah. You even say you teach kickball. Well, I loved kickball when I was a kid. Kickball was very fun. It sounds like that's a fun life, though. You enjoy that? Obviously, you do. I mean, you're still doing it, but yeah. Well, good for you. I mean, it's surprising to me that you need to get up at 6:50 or get up at 5:30 to get in the office by 6:15 to arrange for a day of teaching kickball. But good for you. Well, we wish you great success in your comedy and knock them dead. I like what you're doing. I hope people will follow you. I'm just gonna put the link right here for really quickly. It's just KatieDudley.com. Kate D. Dudley. Kate D. Dudley?
Yeah, I don't know. Katie Dudley was taken, and so I'm like, it kind of has a little twang to it, Katie.
Oh, yeah. So it wouldn't be intuitive, so people bookmark that. Go there today and bookmark it, so that because I would definitely probably be inclined to just type out KatieDudley.com and Good thing I noticed that. But I will put that link in the description. We hope people will continue to support you and get behind you. And we look for big things from you. So thanks for being on, and thanks for getting up, and have a great day in your classes today.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Bye for now. Katie Dudley, folks. Interesting, right? Interesting. I'm surprised that she's only been doing it 2 years. I know you guys probably aren't all that familiar with her work, but if you did check it out, it doesn't seem like somebody who's only been doing it since the pandemic. She doesn't. She seems very polished and advanced. Alternative. That's the first time I've heard of alternative. Thanks to Ian, I learned a lot from Ian. Believe it or not, he's a derelict, but he teaches me a lot from his comments in the chat room. Don't know what happened to Willie today. He texted me like midnight last night. He's got his shit all figured out.
He posted a video on Facebook, and I had to bring him up. He was on a fucking headset in public. He's got a headset and microphone on the street. So I had to pull him up on that on Facebook, advertising an open mic.
Yeah,
you have a headset on.
He's in South Dakota until October 3rd and doing a bunch of shows and stuff like that. So I guess there's more opportunity in South Dakota than
he seems to like Dakota, right? Sioux Falls and
it's you know what? If there's work, you got to go where the work is. It's like Sam Kinison. You got to go where the food is. You got to go where the work is.
Yeah.
So
if you're happy there, then yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it apart from Fargo.
I don't think I would ever be inclined to just go there, South Dakota, just to see. It doesn't. And I know they have this Sturgis stuff, which, by the way, I have a biker hypnotist comedian coming on. A guy who is a biker first, a comedian, and stage hypnotist who does hypnosis as part of his comedy coming on next week.
I don't trust hypnotists. Hypnotists and magicians. They got secrets.
That's like magic stuff. Because I was looking back at some of the magic stuff. Why the magicians? Because magicians, Nate Bugatti, his father is a magician, a Christian magician. I was thinking about very weird, combination there of being born again Christian and a magician, because magic is all about lying to people. It's all about
it's also evil, isn't it? I know some born again Christians that owns a toy store chain here in the UK, and he banned all Harry Potter stuff because it was magic for years. So he lost millions because he wouldn't stock Harry Potter skateboards and stuff. But he came round in the end. Probably a little too late though. He took like a good 5 years off with not stocking it.
What is it about hypnotists that you don't? Because
I think all hypnotists and magicians are rapists. I'll just put it out there. All hypnotists and magicians rape.
That hurts, Carl. That really hurts.
Oh, I forgot you.
I've done. I was a magician and done stage hypnotism when I was starting out in the 80s. But let me just say this: hypnotism is not real. It is a magic trick without props. It's Carrot Top without the props. There's no real thing. Hypnotism doesn't exist. It's all made up. It's all it's psychological tricks and stuff.
Yeah, but the people lean into it, right? If you're an audience member and you believe it, you'll make yourself suggestible on stage and stuff. It's like, I'm going to be asleep and.
Just for the record, I've never raped anybody. I'm considering it. I'm considering maybe tomorrow during my.
There was a genuine, I think, hypnotist at your mum's house, like Christina Pazitsky and Tom Segura had years ago. They had a clip on, and he was genuinely like grabbing tits and stuff. Like, go to sleep now, and he's like just.
Oh yeah, we had the X-rated hypnotist that would make people, tell them that they had to act out the big cock. They had an 8-foot cock, and all that kind of stuff. Speaking of 8-foot cocks, Willie,
we're in some serious trouble.
Why?
because all of us are here and I'm fucking rolling on some shrooms right now, bro.
What do you mean?
Why are
What do
you on a podcast? You should be looking at the fucking stars, man.
No, well, the stars have gone. Dawn has come here in America. So I was out looking at the stars all night long. I don't know what it is with South Dakota, but ever since I've come here to South Dakota, people just keep giving me fucking mushrooms. Like what are they trying to turn me into fucking Mario? I don't really know.
There you go.
Had-
Well, see,
in
I just said
Arizona-
I couldn't find a reason to go to South Dakota. Now everybody has a reason except Robert. He doesn't
I
partake.
did get promised mushrooms in Arizona, but I didn't get them. But I got nothing but weed.
Bro, well, hey, you know what? The girl that gave me
weed,
these
weed.
shrooms was from Arizona, so maybe we ran into the same person.
Maybe.
I get ads from mushrooms on Facebook now. Do you guys get that? It's selling magic mushrooms
No, but I've got.
Facebook.
I did a tweet saying I want some mushrooms. Can anyone get me? And someone said Instagram account this, and I've gone on the Instagram account and they're advertising shrooms, and I've gone DMs
That's
with
fucking
them.
awesome.
I'm not sure I trust that it isn't cops. You know, they told
Right?
me the
No,
price,
that's
but
very
I'm
good.
not
That's
sure.
yeah,
I'm not sure I
'cause-
trust it to make the deal. You know.
So
whenever you're answering drug stuff online, you're always a little sketched out.
Yeah,
always.
I'd rather go for a friend, and my friends are slow at getting me drugs though. They're slow.
You know what though, bro? Now that you mention it, God, the universe is so beautiful sometimes because you just answered my question of I don't know what's going on with people like just keep giving me shrooms and stuff. But the other day on one of these like local Facebook groups, there was some guy from I think Arkansas, and he was like he put in there, "Hey Sioux Falls, where's the gas?" Right? And like these stupid fucking Midwestern motherfuckers are trying to tell this motherfucker where the nearest gas station was. I, of course, knew that he was looking for the fire ass fucking weed and messaged him privately after checking out his Facebook profile and realized that he was a real person and said, "Hey, I got you, bro." And that's why this keeps happening to me is because the universe is just paying me back the dividends.
I don't know about the universe, but maybe it's just a guy on Facebook or Instagram.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. Now I have to say you sound more drunk than like trippy.
I'm not drunk.
Are you not drinking?
I'm drinking Monster. I am drinking, but I'm drinking Monster.
Hmm.
Mocha. What is it? It's something Mango Loco. That's what it is. Mango Loco.
Well, you missed it. You're definitely fucking flying, aren't you?
Dude, I'm so far gone. Like,
mellow.
Yeah, but hey, at least I was like, hey, I still got to go do the podcast. I got to get on the podcast. For an hour, I've been yelling to this girl about I need to go and get on the podcast.
Well, I think it's highly irresponsible for you to show up at work in this condition. We're gonna have to refer you to HR. And
listen, when you hire a guy whose background check comes back with one nut, HR is definitely in the fucking future. You know what I mean?
Hey guys, check out. I gotta go get online and get my John Mulaney tickets.
All right, go do it.
Yeah, hell yeah. Good to see you, Robert.
Yeah, hey man.
Are you going to be on tomorrow? Carl is guest host tomorrow.
Carl, I'll check in with you tomorrow.
All right, man. I'll see you tomorrow.
I'm so glad you were able to get a word in edgewise, Robert. I'm so sorry.
Robert Taylor Comedy. I'm gonna bounce you in a
Yeah.
second too because my guest is here.
Oh, great!
I'm gonna bounce.
I'm bouncing all of you guys.
Hang on, I just want to ask. I just want to try and have one more epiphany. Do I always do this? Do I always just bust in and take over and don't let anybody talk? Do I do? I do,
Yes.
don't I?
Depends
All
on
the
who
time.
depends on who you talk to. I'm sure Mike
God damn
Savola
it.
would
I'll
give
work
you a
on
tongue-
that. I'll work
a
on
tongue
that.
lashing. Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Carl doesn't know anything about football. I sent you my football picks for this week. I guess you just read them off tomorrow, so we have a record of it.
You want? Hang on a second. Are you trying to get me to think about tomorrow right now, dude? I'm trying to just understand my atmosphere right now.
All right, quiet down. Let Carl talk.
Mind Dog, I'm going to bet money on your picks tomorrow. I can bet on NFL here.
You should.
You'll be
You
rich.
should. His picks are good. Mine are garbage.
Make sure you do it at mybookie.com/minddog. my book. Anyway,
All right, I'm going to bounce. Conway, enjoy the trip, man.
I'm gonna
No, we
bounce.
should. Hey, he's gonna bounce me too. We should just hang
Yes.
out together somewhere. We should in the ether of the internet.
No, don't ever show up for work
Hey,
in this
let's
condition
go. Hey,
again.
we should start doing the last rites like right now, or
I'm
right after dog's
I'm
done.
I'm happy to do it. I just need to do some admin, but I'm happy to do that.
You
All
can
right.
do
Well,
it.
then
You
I'll
can do it
watch
now.
the dog.
I don't feel any competition about you guys doing that. Besides, nobody really wants to see you all messed up in the condition you're in anyway. So,
Are you kidding me? Everybody wants to see this.
Kelly does. Kelly will follow you. Anyway.
Whoa, what?
Bring your
Hey,
actual real guest.
she wants to see me in any condition, but that's many women out there. You just don't want to admit it. It's okay.
All right, I'm bouncing you. Get out. Oop, I bounced the wrong guy. I'm bouncing you too. I'm going to take a really quick station break here and pay our sponsors. But when we come back, we're going to meet a fantasy novelist and a very award-winning fantasy novelist in just 1 minute. We are brought to you today by TrueFire. If you want to learn guitar online, or you want to learn to be guitar just in general, TrueFire is the best place to do it. You can learn from some of the best in the business. Whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced player, you're going to benefit from TrueFire. Use a promo code MindDog when you go there. Check it out.
Over 2 million guitar players worldwide learn, practice, and play with TrueFire. Our learning tools and massive library of video lessons will ignite your technical skills, harmonic knowledge, rhythm playing, and soloing chops. TrueFire's educators are the best in the biz, from Grammy Award winners to world-renowned artists. You'll have access to an unparalleled faculty of over 300 top-notch blues, rock, jazz, country, fingerstyle, and acoustic guitar educators. Using our desktop and mobile apps, you'll work with TrueFire's multi-angle video lessons on any device, anytime, anywhere. Integrated learning tools such as video syncs, tab and notation, slow-mo, looping, practice jam tracks, and many more handy controls accelerate your learning experience. TrueFire style-specific learning paths guide you every step of the way. Use our assessment tools to find your starting point, then follow our lesson recommendations and track your progress as you work through your personalized TrueFire study plan. Progress faster with private one-on-one instruction, group lessons, multi-track video jams, live streams, song lessons, student forums, TrueFire's Riff magazine, premium jam tracks, and much, much more. With thousands of 5-star ratings and reviews from amateur and pro players alike, you'll find yourself in good company with the world's most comprehensive guitar learning platform. Grab your guitar and ignite your musicality. Sign up free for an all-access trial today.
How about Willie showing up? He seemed drunk. But he says he wasn't drinking. But you know what? I guess I don't know what happened in America, but magic mushrooms seem to be everywhere these days. Like when I was a kid, my God, it was like so taboo. It was like, what are you're doing hard drugs? And now they're advertising for magic mushrooms on Facebook and Instagram, and you buy them online, and everybody, it's like wine. It's even softer than wine to a lot of people, but we definitely seemed a little intoxicated. Anyway, don't show up for work intoxicated. Katie Dudley, I hope you were impressed by her. Really, really impressive comedian. Check her out, KDDudley.com. Right now, we're about to meet a award-winning fantasy author, Danielle M. Orsino is an award-winning. I apologize for my stumbling here. Danielle M. Orsino is an award-winning fantasy novelist whose lifelong vision is to create whimsical realms that her readers can escape to. Her compelling word-weaving pays homage to multiple personal muses from Chris Claremont and George Perez. I don't know those, but to famous comic book writers, to Anne Rice, I know her, and Jim Henson to Wonder Woman. Ladies and gentlemen, please open your ears and open your minds and help me welcome in Daniel Orsino. Welcome. Oh, I love that. Look. Now, is this welcome to the show, by the way? But is this part of your day? Do you always dress up like this for?
Of course.
Really?
I go to the grocery store like this. Doesn't everybody?
Well, every picture I've seen of you online has you in a similar fantasy garb, I think. So it's a very interesting look. But seriously now, do you really go through life like this?
I try to whenever I can. Yes, I try
But
to always have a crown on because everybody should wear a crown now and then. But yeah, I try to dress up whenever I can. It's one of those things. I was in scrubs for so long as a nurse, or when I was competing in karate, I always wore a uniform. So after a while, when you can kind of dress up, why not?
very cool stuff. I appreciate the. You know what? Uh, I had your links in the description, and now it's gone to the author page of your publisher. Anyway, talk to me about, because I've talked to a lot of fantasy writers, and I don't think I've ever asked this question. What draws you to the world of fantasy and compels you to write about magical and whimsical places like that? Where does that come from?
I'm a comic book geek first and foremost, so I think just kind of getting lost in that idea that there's something else out there, there's something bigger, and everybody wants to believe they're special or they're different. You always want somebody to knock on your door and be like, "You're the chosen one. You're the one who will save us all." Everybody kind of somewhere deep down as a kid, you always want to be that superhero, or have Professor X, like I said, knock on your door and be like, "You're the one." So that's kind of where it comes from, at least for me. And that's what I want to give somebody a chance to kind of read about and escape to. So I think that's, at least for me, I can't speak
Wow.
for everybody, but where it kind of goes to. And I read like you saw the never ending story, and everybody wants a Falcor to jump on back, on their back and go riding into the sky.
Now, Jim Henson, this is the one that struck because most people wouldn't equate the kind of stuff that you write, fantasy and stuff, to Jim Henson, but he did have a lot of that. The ambiance of fantasy fiction, like even Fraggle Rock and some of those things that he put
Mhm.
together, were all full of that kind of imagery and stuff. So people don't necessarily equate him with this whole world of fantasy fiction. Tell me about how he's influenced your writing.
When you look at Labyrinth, The Dark Crystal, things like that, and just the fact that he did all the puppeteering, even Star Wars, things like that, he had a certain storytelling ability that to me just always spoke to me. Even when you go back to the old Muppet Show and just the vignettes he did, there was just something that he could always tell a story in a short amount of time and wrap it up so beautifully that I always loved. But when you look at Labyrinth, that was a story that stuck out to me, from David Bowie's performance as Jared throughout the whole arc, and just all the little creatures that popped up in there and had a very specific piece to the puzzle. I just loved, and that story to this day still captivates me. And the Dark Crystal was scary, but once again, there were pieces to that puzzle that I loved, and I just loved the imagination of it all. And that was a big thing. It wasn't like when I was writing, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a live action. I always thought animation, puppeteering, that's kind of how I imagined things. So Jim Henson's ability to tell the story in different medium and use pieces like that, I just always loved.
All right. Now, most of the authors, and this is something that very few authors will cop to, admit to. When I talk to, and I've had more than 1,500 author interviews now, and I would say, and out of 1,500 or so, maybe 30 or 40 have agreed with me that the protagonist in their work is always somewhat a reflection of themselves, and authors are reluctant for the most part to agree with me on that. Is that the case? Do you agree with me on any level that the protagonist in your fantasy fiction, the hero or
Mhm.
heroine, is partly you?
There's a little bit of I don't have, like, a set protagonists in my stories because I do this omniscient point of view in it, but there's probably a little of me in a lot of the characters because, to be honest, I didn't know what the hell I was doing when I wrote it. I had like, if you wanna know not how to write a book, come talk to me because I could totally tell you how to mess it all up. So, there's probably a little of me because they screw things up. Totally me. Aurora, Queen Aurora is way too trusting. Totally me. Wants to do things by herself. Once again, me. Stubborn, me. So there's a lot of me in Aurora. I wouldn't say she's the protagonist. She messes a lot of it up, and there's a lot of miscommunication. King Jarvok, who is the antagonist in Locked Out of Heaven initially, is there's a little of me too in there. There's a little of me short tempered. Once again, there's a bit of me in all the characters because I didn't know what I was doing. And
Right.
so, Lady Serena is my best friend from high school, Jennifer. And there's a chapter called Girl Talk where the two of them are sitting on the beach and being so deep. And it's her and I sitting at Vaughn Stock at 16 years old, talking about life. Like, once again, we knew everything. So,
Right.
yeah, there's definitely aspects of me in all the characters, but it's more life experiences that I've been through. And,
Right.
whether I put horns on them or scales, it's all interpersonal dynamics and things that I've done because, once again, I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
So,
So
I'd like to give you some really deep answer, but there isn't one.
no, yeah, I get it, and we don't necessarily need we don't require very deep answers here. We're just trying to be entertaining to people and pass the morning.
Perfect.
No, that's fine. But now, I think you mentioned being a nurse. I did not. That's not in your bio. Was writing always the goal, and was nursing a just a something to pay the bills while you were establishing yourself as a writer, or did it come later in life, the idea that I want to be an author?
No, none of this was planned at all. The whole idea, I was a competitive martial artist. That's how it started. Then after you beat them up, you got to patch them up. So I learned how to patch them up after. I went to nursing school and then I never thought of being a writer. It came from an idea as I was speaking to a patient who needed a distraction during long IV treatments and he just didn't want to do it anymore. So he was like, if you're going to keep me in this chair, entertain me. And through a conversation, the story came to be. And I just started telling him a story, and that's where Birth of the Fae came from. The series came from me just telling him this story of these angels who became the Fae through just a conversation we were having. And then every day
Wow.
he sat in the chair, I told him another chapter. He was the one who was like, you need to go write this down. He's like, go home and write it down. You need to do this. So it was this patient who inspired me and then kept telling me, go home, write it down, write it down. But it was he kind of lit the match, and
Does
that's
he
how it
know that?
started. Yes, we're still 10 years later, we are best friends. He is actually in volume 2 of Birth of the Fae, the next set of books, which is called Birth of the Succubus. He's the protagonist in that book, and he's the literary hero, in the next set. So this whole thing was inspired by him. He knows it. The next volume is dedicated to him,
Very
and yeah,
cool.
he's the hero.
All right. Now, I found Four Horsemen, with it four, the number four, horsemenpublications.com, and then you can go into the authors and Daniel's pages there. Now, what is your latest book? Is because you're very prolific. There's 8 of them listed here. Which is the one that is currently out? The most recent book.
Forgive Us is book 6 in the series. I have a novella as well, Fire, Ice, Acid, and Heart, which is in there. But book 6, Forgive Us, is the end of volume 1 for Birth of the Fae.
What is
And that's the
FAA?
latest one.
Birth of the FAE. What is the FAE?
FAE, Fae, it's their fairies, but it's actually an acronym, Fellowship Aegis of Earth, the Defenders. So they become what we know as the Fae.
Gotcha. Now your cover work is amazing. Of course, most fantasy fiction stuff is like just great works of art. Do you direct that stuff? Are you doing it yourself, or are you working with the artist? And do you have like a lot of input into how that's going to come out? Oh, tell me about these covers because they're amazing.
The covers, the way it started out was I had a whole idea for the covers initially, and then my publishers saw me cosplay as my characters, and they decided for a limited edition for the first run, they would put me on the covers. So I did all the photo shoots, and then after that limited edition was sold out, then they moved on to the typeset, which you'll see, and then I had a say in what would be in the background. So
Wow.
the set, that's out right now, which is the circle with the typeset, everything in the background, I decided on. So there's a dagger, there's a skull, there's stars. All those things are actually little tidbits from the book. So
Wow.
yes, we collaborated on it. The first set that people can find is me in cosplay as all the characters. And then once that is sold out, which sometimes you can still find them out there, then the next set is the typeset. But yes, we worked collaboratively on all the covers, which was wonderful.
Very cool. Now, the Instagram, the social media following, and well, this is not necessarily the most important thing on everybody's mind to learn about an author. But when I go to your Twitter page, it's not for you; it's the birth of the FAE, or birth of the Fae.
Mhm.
Is that where we're sending people to follow you and stuff?
Instagram is the best place to follow me, Birth of the Fae underscore novel. That's the best place because that's where everything I send everybody to Instagram. And that's where I communicate the best with everybody, with my readers. Because it gives them a piece of the Fae. You'll see the background shoots for the covers. I have like before and after, so you can see what the cover looked like while I was taking the picture and then what it eventually became. I have the cosplay up there and character backgrounds, things like that. So I kind of keep it in the Vale, which is where they live. That's the best place, and I constantly react and interact with my readers.
Now, earlier you said if I'm going to paraphrase here because I don't remember exactly what you said, but you said if you want to know how to not write a book,
Mhm.
maybe I'm
Yep.
ask you. It seems to me because this is very contradictory to be a great martial artist, you have to have a
Mhm.
lot of discipline and follow the rules and kind of learn the rules before you break the rules and that kind of stuff. It seems
Yes.
like that doesn't hold true with the rest of your life as far as becoming an author. That you didn't learn the rules before you broke the rules. You just dove head in and said, "I can do this." Talk to me about that contradiction of because I'm sure to be a champion martial artist, you had to really play by the rules and learn step by step and have a lot of discipline and all that kind of stuff. Tell me about that.
When I was in martial arts, yes, I was very disciplined. It was this is the line. I also had a very strict instructor. So I think, and then obviously as nursing, you have to stay in those lines,
Right.
people's lives. But I think that's why when I became an author, I went the opposite way. I also didn't think anything was going to get published. What I did was I would go home, take out, and I handwrite everything first, which once again, nobody does. But I would
Wow.
handwrite, all the books are handwritten first.
Oh my
Uh,
God.
so I had stacks of these handwritten journals. I'm also dyslexic, so handwriting, is good and bad. But for me, it was just that's how I got it out of my head because when I write, I kind of watch it in my head as a movie first. And then I sit there and think, if the reader's going to be bored, or if I'm bored, somebody else would be bored. So that's kind of how I do it. I also play theme music. I do all these weird things. And I didn't know, oh, that's not how you write a book. And I think it kind of helped me because if I went and looked at the rules, I probably wouldn't have a book because I'd be following these regimes and
Right.
I'd probably still be researching it to this day and I would never have anything on paper. So I just kind of did it and then was like, well, we'll see what happens. I don't know what I'm going to do. And then
I
my
don't.
husband was like, you got to put it on like a computer so it doesn't. He's like, what if you spill something? What if there's a fire? Like, nobody's going to have this. So I went in every different direction because I just really didn't know. And part of me was like, I'm not going to research it because there were so many books on how to write a book. How do you
Right.
even begin?
Yeah.
So I went in the
Everybody's got
opposite
a
direction.
different approach to it. That's one thing I've learned in 1,500
Oh,
author
yeah.
interviews is process and create where it comes from is very different. But I'm not sure. I think I find a lot of value in what you just said because a lot of people get hung up on it's not going to be good enough. This is not the right way to do this stuff, and it can be stifling creativity. And you just kind of try, because this is another contradiction, because you said, uh, I think you said not trusting, everybody, or maybe trust too easy is what you said. I don't, I'm kind of
Yeah.
forgetting what, but that whole, because it takes a lot of, you know, just being free and trusting that this is going to come out right. That doesn't come naturally to every creative person, because most creative people are filled with doubt, like this can't be right and all that kind of stuff. It's a very interesting, but for me, it's a creative, a freeing, creative process that you just described, and I like it. But I'm not sure if it's good advice or bad advice. I think it's all individual, but I just find it interesting.
Thank you. Yeah, I think everybody just has to kind of find their flow. And because I didn't set out with like, I'm gonna write, I'm gonna be a writer, I just kind of wrote it and was like, we'll see what happens. I don't know. And I didn't know. I was just picking it up to where with martial arts, there's one way to do a traditional form. If
Right,
you're learning, the first form in Taekwondo is Chunji. There's only one way. It's a down block, step and punch. Down block, step and punch. That's it. There's no other way to do it. That's just all you have. You're writing a book, there's a million different ways to write a book. So I just needed to be like, oh, I'm gonna sit and write, see what happens. What else am I gonna do? It's my words in my head. These are the characters.
right,
Nobody else can tell me, oh no, King Jarvok's gonna do this. No, I made up King Jarvok. He's in my head. Nobody else can tell me what he's gonna do. So I just got to get them out on paper and then, well, we'll figure it out from there. But to me, it was also freeing coming from such a regimented background and also being judged every weekend. I mean, you go to a tournament on a Saturday, you do the form, this is your score. Well, I can fix that on Sunday if I get a different score. A judge is like, hey, next time try this. When you're writing, I can erase, go back, erase. But once it's published, I can't go back and fix anything. If you
right.
critique my book, I can't fix it for you. If you're like, yeah, I didn't really like that character, what do you want me to do? Well, I
Yeah.
can't fix it. So
And
it's contradictory, like you said.
yeah, yeah. Now tell me about, because most people today are going this self-publishing route. Now, you kind of went with you're on Four Horsemen Publications. Getting your first novel published, how long did that take? Was it a frustrating process? Did you face a lot of rejection? Did did it take years, or was it something that happened quickly for you?
The first edition was published by a different publisher. It wasn't a great experience. And then Four Horsemen found me on a podcast. I actually did their podcast, Drinking with Authors, and they had read the book and was like, hey, look, we know you're with this other publisher who normally does nonfiction. Why don't you come with us? We do fiction fantasy. Come with us and we'll take care of it all. And I hemmed and hawed, met with them, went through the contract and was like, yep, I'm going to jump ship. Cool. This is a good move. But there was a lot of back and forth with everything from the first edition to the second edition, which I was much happier with and everything. But all in all, I applaud people who can do the self-publishing route. There's still a lot of stigma to it, which is why I didn't go with it, because you still can't get into certain distribution houses and things like that. And still people think that if you self-publish, like you're not edited properly, or there's something wrong with it, like you couldn't get published in the bigger realms. So I still think there's hurdles to be jumped with it. If I had it to do all over again and somebody was, I'd probably go self-publishing because you have a little more freedom. You're not on a timeline. You know, you can do
Yeah,
it that way. Not that there's anything wrong with my publisher or anything like that. It's just there's a little more relaxation with it.
yeah,
But you're still in charge of every single thing. But you're like
right.
that even if you're published by a publisher, you still have to market. You still have to do all that. So you
That
might as well
that's
be getting all the rewards.
That's only in the last 20 years, by the way. In the old days, and I'm
Hmm.
an old man who always says in the old days, well, back in the day, um, publishers would take care of all of that for you. If you
Yes,
signed with the publishing company, they would take care of all the marketing stuff. At some point, they figured, you know what, you do it.
you do it. Exactly.
Yeah.
You go.
Uh, how are you with the editing process? I mean, because for me,
Mhm.
I know this is my definitely Achilles heel is um I don't take constructive criticism very well. Or I don't trust it, and always think that I know best in what I do in my creations, and I'm reluctant to take editorial advice. How is that for you? I mean, is that something you battle with as an artist, as a creator, or do you just trust in the editor's judgment and make changes according to what they ask for?
Depends. I have different editors. Aside from Four Horsemen, I actually have my own editor. I have Cleet Barrett Smith, who's my developmental editor, and then I have Christine Frey, who's my line editor. It goes to them before my publisher ever sees it. And then I have a wonderful friend who's an author, C.R. Rice, who writes the Realm series. Her and I bounce ideas off of each other while we're writing, and that's just a godsend. And then it goes to Cleet. Cleet, we go through developmental editing. He sends me a note, and it's always like, this is what I loved, this is what needs to be changed. And then we have a phone call and we discuss. And I have no problem, because usually Cleet is my Yoda and he's been right on everything. If there is one thing maybe that I don't agree with, we will discuss it, and he'll say, where's the book going? And we debate. So I haven't had an issue. When it gets to my publishers, usually that's where I have the problems, because if I'm with an editor, they don't want to discuss like where the book is going, and that's usually where I'm like, hey, wait a minute, let's back up a little bit. But all in all, I trust Cleet 100%. I trust CR when her and I are like bouncing ideas. Christina does line editing. If she catches a plot hole, she'll call me and say, hey, this was in this book, but it wasn't in that. What I like about my editing team and my friend CR is they've all read my books, so they know exactly the background. When you're dealing with a publishing house, usually they haven't read it. You've got a different publisher who hasn't read, a different editor who hasn't read the book before. They don't know. And that's where, yeah, I can get a little bit like, hey, hold on. I know what this character is going to do. Don't tell me what this one is like.
Right.
It's my guy. I
Yeah.
know what he or she would do. Don't tell me how they're going to act. They're in my head right now yelling, I would never do that. It's like,
yeah.
that's where I get protective. But usually my editing team and my friends, I trust, and they'll tell me when they're like, yo, Danielle,
Wow.
this ain't cool. Back this up. So I've trusted them 100%. But yeah, I've butted heads before, where I'm like, nope, this
Eh,
isn't.
Is your audience, do you do enough analytics on knowing the demographics of your audience, primarily female in a younger age group, or do you know? Because it doesn't seem to me that well, I know there are men who are very much into fantasy. I don't know any of them personally.
I
I
do
mean,
actually skew more toward guys,
really,
because I don't have romance in volume 1 at all. I'm not romance driven, which
right,
is something that I've had to, like, a hurdle I've jumped, because Fae is usually considered romanticy. That's where it's gone with like Sarah J. Maas and stuff. I have no smut. I have a lot of fight scenes as a martial artist. I do have real dragons. I have a lot of political intrigue. I do skew a little more toward the male side. And I've had
wow,
guys who've come up to me and been like, your dragons are amazing. They actually fly. There's a reason for them. There's a reason for breathing fire, ice, acid. You did your research. These are like cool dragons. I have just been moved to young adult, and I've done really well in young adult now. And I've started picking up more girls who are like, your girls are badass. Like, I like them. They're not looking for a dude. They're out, like, they're not looking for love. They're not swiping right or left.
right,
These chicks are like, they're not fighting over a guy. They're really like helping each other out, and they're fighting for their kingdom. Like, I'm into this. So my demographics have changed. Initially, I was skewing more toward men, and now that I've moved to young adults, I've gotten more girls on board who are like, yeah, I'm into this. I just had a girl who came up to me, and mother was like, I'm so happy my daughter's reading your book over some of the other smut books are out there, because yeah, she loves Desdemona. Like, she came out and was like, I really like her books, because the girls in there, the women are strong. They're not mooning over a guy and fighting over a guy with their girl. They're like, cool, like, let's go out and kick some butt. I'm
uh,
into this.
I mean, I find it interesting that you say smut. I haven't heard that word in a long time, but I like it, but it's
Yeah.
interesting to me. Um, yeah. So now, with that, that's interesting that more guys are like that. But um, romance is part of life. I mean, I'm
Mhm.
not. I'm definitely not into romance novels at all. I mean, that's my biggest turnoff in any medium. Romance films, love songs, and all that. I'm not a big fan of that. But it is a part of life. There is absolutely none of that there's no relationship stuff at all.
Oh, there's relationship, but it's not the driving plot
Right.
force in the
Okay.
book. You get an enemies to lovers trope around book 3. It starts, but it's not the driving force. It's like in this book, the Fae are trying to figure out their life. They can't go back home. They can't go back to the Shining Kingdom. They're stuck on Earth. They're no longer angels. They don't have time to be like, "Hey, you cute." They just, they don't have time to be like, "I need to go get laid." They're just not into that right now. They're like, our whole lives have just disintegrated. I got to figure out like who I am. So by the time an enemies to lovers trope comes around, we're in the end of book 3 by the time they're like, "Hey, maybe instead of fighting, like we should figure this crap out." But like we have to kind of get there. So I couldn't throw that in and then I couldn't make it a whole romantasy thing
Right.
because it just didn't fit. And then like I said, it's not the driving force of the book. And
Gotcha.
so
Because
and I did not
even
want that.
Superman had Lois Lane, though. I mean, there was always
Oh,
that
yeah.
hint of this
There's
something.
little hints of things, like, you find out that, this one might have had a history with that one.
Right.
I might have a fae who's like, I call it aura blending. They don't have, it's not like they're screwing, it's called aura blending. And you got you have a couple fae that are like, "Look, that's what I like to do, I'll
Yeah.
screw a tree if the hole is low enough." But, it's just not the driving force of the book to whereas there are some books where that's all it is.
Yeah.
That's not the series. That's not what the series is based on. There's other things going on and there's a lot of alternative history. So it's just not all that my books are about and it's not gratuitous in
Very
that
cool.
sense.
Oh, I like that. Now, I'm assuming maybe this is a bad assumption, but I'm assuming there's audiobooks available, right? Are they? Do you do audio form?
Yes, Locked Out of Heaven is available on audio. It was produced by Skyboat Media and I have 2 narrators. I have a male and a female narrator, just so you can get that omniscient point of view.
Right.
So that's out right now, and then I'll be doing the rest of the books with the same feel.
It would seem to me that a lot of your work would probably uh, benefit from like not just narration but acting out.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's that genre lends itself very well to audiobooks. I don't like audiobooks that are just one person reading and that stoic
Exactly.
voice the whole time.
Same
I'd
way.
rather do the reading myself than have somebody read it to me. But that's always interesting. Now, you're very prolific, as I mentioned on your author page on Four Horsemen. There are 8 books. Are you disciplined? Are you the kind of person who says? And obviously, we talked about discipline from the martial arts
Mhm,
standpoint, and you got into this with lack of, well, to say the
mhm.
word, uh, but getting up and do you write at the same time of day? Do you set a plan for yourself as a writer, or do you just let it come when the spirit hits you, for lack of a better way of describing it?
Sometimes it depends. If I have a project, I will try to kind of get it out, but a little bit of it is inspiration. I finished volume 2, has 3 books in it, but then I've gotten the idea as I was talking to Cleet of doing these little novellas about side characters. So I've started that, and then I will just go until I feel like it's drained out, like there's nothing. But I have journals all around my house. My husband thinks it's funny because he's always like, "What's this?" And he picks up the journal and there's like a half written story in it. He's like, "You gonna finish this?" I'm like, "No, no, I'm getting to it. I'm getting to it." But I've got one by the bed because for some reason 3 a.m. is usually the time when a character walks into my head and like knocks on my brain.
That's
And it's like,
scary.
"Hi, it's time to here's my story." And I'll get some like, "Oh, I gotta write this," or I figure out a plot hole for some reason at that time. So there's always something going on. My head is never quiet. There's a lot of voices. and he
And
never
now,
quite
you
lets
kind
me
of
rest.
scared me. 3 a.m. is a witching hour, and I relate to that idea of there's something really mystical and magical about. And people are going to think I'm Fruit Loops, but I definitely have had some kind of mystical experiences at 3 a.m. and it's very
Nope,
weird. But
that's the time.
yeah, I don't know. It's something about and wake up often. I will wake up and look at the clock, and it's exactly 3 a.m. It's like, oh, there it is again. Uh,
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. Yeah. So you know what? I thank you for being here, and I wish you great success. Let me just ask you before I let you go here,
Mhm.
because with the martial arts stuff, first of all, when you talked about writing stuff out in longhand, I get writer's cramp just thinking about that. But first of all, do you still work out in the martial arts? Do you still
I still box. I kickbox. Yes, I do.
does the exercise and the working out and regimented working out, does that facilitate authorship or writing? Because I've talked to so many authors I've talked to are walkers, and they find that taking long walks will definitely kill writer's block. Will you get them out of writer's block or facilitate the story, and they can be really creative in that left, right, automated movement that is just you don't have to think about it. Does the uh, exercise and regiments that you have to do for martial arts, does that help you as a writer, or do you use that in any way in your creative?
Well, two things. Yes, I think it just gives me a chance to shut my brain off because if I'm boxing and somebody is calling out, I use the Fight Camp app a lot. I love it because then somebody just calls out the combos and I don't have to think. Instead of going freestyle on a bag, somebody's like 1, 2, and it's like great. I'm just like, yeah, okay, I can do this. I don't have to sit there and think of my own workout. So that helps shut my brain off for a little bit. And that does help the creative process, I think, because once again, I can just kind of zone out. As for using martial arts, all the fight scenes I videotape. So I take my phone, set it up on the tripod, I go outside, and I know what I'm going to do for the fight scene. I videotape it.
Wow.
And sometimes my dogs are, you know, the little are my extras. And my husband's walked out and I've had the dog and I've got a sword and he's like, just don't hurt the dog. And he walks back inside and he's like, I don't even want to know what's happening out here. And I'm surrounded, like in my head, I'm like surrounded by dark fae, or I'm a dark fae fighting off the light fae and I've got the sword in my hand and I'm like, everybody just stay still. And I'm actually working everything out. And then I'll look at it from an angle, I'll reset the tripod, I'll do it from a different angle because that's how the reader is going to picture it. So I have to figure out the angle that I'm going to write it. Am I writing it
Wow.
from the attacker's angle or am I writing it from the attackee's angle? Which angle am I going to write this from that the reader is going to understand it? Because what I hate, and I love my superhero movies, don't get me wrong. I hate when all you see is a fist and a cape swinging and you're watching it going, what, wait a minute, where are they? What just happened?
Right.
I want you as the reader to feel like I am dead in the middle of this fight and I see everything that's happening and you get it. So I use the martial arts as much as I possibly can, but I videotape everything and then decide what angle am I going to write this from? Should it be there, the attacker who's swinging the sword or punching or not? So all of my fight scenes, I don't write big sweeping Lord of the Rings army fight scenes on horseback because I don't ride. Mine are usually no more than 4 people, and that's it. Because that I can visualize, and I'm like, okay, everybody can take that in. You've all been in a group of friends where it's 4 people, you're
Right.
arguing or something like that. We can all kind of get that. You could
Very
figure
cool.
out an elbow hitting a forehead or something. Like, we can all kind of grasp that.
First
So
time
martial
for
arts has
everything.
definitely helped.
I've never talked to an author that actually films themselves doing a fight scene to get that kind of perspective. First time, and it's interesting. It's an interesting process to go through. You're a very interesting person. I'm sure you know that, and people have told you that.
Thank you.
But
I've heard weird, quirky. I'll take interesting though. That's much better.
no, definitely. I like people who are not cookie cutter right off the mold. People who have their own personality and developed a sense of self that doesn't necessarily have to go along with everything that society says you should be. And I love the fact that you got dressed up for the show. Not actually, you didn't. This is how you
This
live
is
your life.
everyday wear.
Yeah, very good. I apologize. I put the links in the banner stuff, but for some reason they didn't save. On Instagram, it's Birth of the Fae _novel. Go there and follow. And Four Horsemen publications is where you're gonna find all the links, Twitter and all that kind of stuff. So I appreciate you being on here. I wish you great success and good luck with your career and hope to hear from more from you. Now, are you working on something now? Another book at the moment, or are you just
Yes.
okay?
I have a novella coming out hopefully in June, which will kind of tie up everything from volume 1, which features 2 fan favorite characters, Lady Danius and General Jaden. That's called At the Heart of War. That'll be out in June. I'm collaborating right now with C.R. Rice on a crossover event between the Veil and the Realm. We're working on that. And then I will actually be at Nightmare Weekend with GalaxyCon October 13th at the Pop-Up Bookshop, which is an event I run with C.R. Rice where we bring indie authors to the public that maybe wouldn't normally get that kind of exposure. And then we'll be at GalaxyCon Columbus December 3rd through December 4th, around there in Columbus, Ohio. And that'll be once again with the Pop-Up Bookshop, and people can come. I'll be in full cosplay. There might be a little Harley Quinn moment coming up. We don't know.
Very cool. Yeah.
And you can come see me there as well.
We'll put all that stuff in our newsletter. Thank you for being here. Have a
Thank you
great
so
day
much.
and be well. And do come back sometime. I appreciate it next
I
time you
would love
publish
it.
something. All right, cool. Bye for now.
Thank
Have a
you.
great day. Bye. Danielle M. Orsino. Very cool stuff there. And I think you will agree. An interesting person. Love to know what your thoughts are on her work and her process. Interesting process there, right? Never talked to an author who actually films fight scenes to get a good perspective on how to write it in advance. It sounds like a really good idea. I think more people should maybe consider doing that. Not just fight scenes, lots of stuff, in today's day and age, everybody has access to a high definition video camera, and you can kind of get a better perspective on on what you're about to write about. So interesting stuff there. I'm going to take a really short break. I'll be back in just a moment to wrap things up. Please sit tight, and we'll talk to you some more in a minute.
Hey, yeah, mind dog, yeah, mind dog. If you ready for some action, this dog sure to keep you laughing. Let's go. Mind dog, yeah, mind dog. Don't roll, don't play fetch, only here to keep your interest. This is the show that you've been missing, full of comedians and musicians, plenty of interviews, entertaining, keep it funny, there ain't no debating. Call the man, you never know what they gon' say. Bean Flicker Kelly and Whiskey Dick Willie Conway. So authentic and straight raw, pushing the limits when they talk, doing it live when they stream. Mind Dog TV, yeah, so crazy, getting intense. The dogs are wild, better beware before you hop over the fence. Mind Dog, yeah, Mind Dog. If you ready for some action, this dog sure to keep you laughing. Let's go. Mind Dog, hey, Mind Dog. Don't roll, don't play fetch, only here to keep your interest. Let's go. Come have coffee with the dog.
Come have coffee with the dog. I just want to briefly mention governors before we say goodbye to govs today. Tom Kelly is a Giggle Room, September 29th. All-Star Comedy show is also September 29th. That's at the main location in Bohemia this weekend. Drew Dunn, September 29th, and October 1st, Sunday Night Funnies. And at Belmore, we have Dustin Chafin, September 29th and 30th. And that's what's going on at Govs. We have to say goodbye to Govs. Knock 'em Dead Comedy is up next. Make sure you stay tuned